Hello, Brampton family and friends. We have just come to the end of an incredible series on Jesus and justice. And the thing is, though, we have not come to the end of pressing into this subject matter. This is something that we've heard others say it's not even just a marathon, but it's a series of marathons. And so we've got to keep our training going. Right? And so, to that end, I have been reading a book by Howard Thurman called Jesus and the Disinherited, and I highly recommend this book to you. In it, Thurman invites us to revisit the Jesus of history, the historical Jesus, in an attempt that we might learn some things that would help inform us as we further press into this subject of anti-racism. And so there are 3 points that I'm hoping would be helpful to us in this regard. And the first point that Howard Thurman makes is that Jesus was a Jew. And yes, we all know that, but he's pointing to the fact, actually Jesus has placed himself in that place. He's pointing out that Jesus was part of a particular people group at a particular time in history. In other words, Jesus belonged. He belonged to a particular group of people. And the second point that Thurman makes is that Jesus was not only a Jew, but he was a poor Jew. And we see that played out in that when Mary and Joseph took him to the temple to be dedicated, they provided, instead of a lamb, they provided turtle doves, right? And Jesus came identifying himself with the poor of this world, with those who were disenfranchised, with those who were considered less at that time. Jesus chose to identify himself in that way. And the third point that Thurman makes is that Jesus was not only a poor Jew, but he was part of a minority group, a group that was surrounded by a more dominant group at that time in history, namely the Romans, and they were subjugated in that way. They were a disadvantaged group. So they were a marginalized, disadvantaged group. And this is the way in which Jesus chose to come to us, to become part of our humanity, to identify himself with us. And so these are important points that can help inform us as to how Jesus looks at this matter of injustice and all of that, right? We can ask ourselves, well, why didn't he come at a different time in history, or maybe at a time where the Jews were more reigning and more powerful than they were at this particular time? Well, that's a question that you can be asking in home church and discussing with each other, with your family, with your friends. These are worthwhile questions, right? Why did Jesus come when he did in the way in which he did? Because he could have come any way that he chose, right? So, let's continue to press into this. Let's continue to exercise our minds and to intentionally lean in, and let's continue most of all to do it together and to love each other as we do this together. All right, hopefully I look forward to seeing you all soon, and we'll be at it again. All right, have a great afternoon.